I'm very excited to have Olivier Roland with me on this call. And Olivier just came out with a new book. It's actually, well, it's not exactly a new book, but the English version is new, The Way of the Intelligent Rebel. And I wanted to share this book with you, and I wanted to share Olivier with you because, well, I've known him for a long time, and he's one of the most unique people I've known, one of the most successful entrepreneurs that I know, and one of the ones that's most aligned with my philosophy of business and life. So, Olivier, welcome. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you, Jeff. That's quite a welcome.
So,
I'm glad to be here.
Olivier has been in my mastermind, my highest level mastermind since 2010. So we're wrapping up our 11th year together. So I've gotten to know Olivier very, very well over the years. And Olivier, can you just tell people a little bit about your business?
Sure. I like to say that I'm a teacher of freedom, actually. And I do it in French. Obviously, maybe you could guess from my accent that I'm French. So I help my audience to be more free in their life, mostly through entrepreneurship by creating or growing a company that is in service of their life instead of their life being in service of their business, and through, the mindset, how to be free through personal development, how to become the best version possible of yourself, and everything that goes with it, how to use good tools, great tools, good marketing, so you have more results for the same amount of work.
So in your business, so you have an online, how does it, what are you actually selling within your business?
So my best-selling product is about content marketing. The name is Blogger Pro because you have only two things that you're really on the internet: your email list, and I know you're a big fan of email marketing too, and your on-site. Because if you have a great like YouTube channel, a great Facebook page, a great Instagram account, well, it's good, but you have an audience in platforms that you don't own. And the problem is, obviously, they can kick you out anytime. The rules are changing, the algorithm is changing. So it's important that that the foundations of your business are where you are the landlord, the owner. So I teach how to build from that and to have the whole ecosystem built with free content that is going to attract like qualified prospect and customers. And my main product is about this. And so I teach people like how to start from scratch, attracting like this kind of people, and then how to sell them, how to create and sell them like online products.
And so can you give people, just because most people that are going to be watching this are not in France or French speaking, so they might not have any idea of the scale of your business. But you are one of the leaders in the online publishing industry in France, in French. Can you give people a sense of the scale that you're operating at?
Sure. My YouTube channel has like 260,000 subscribers. My email list might maybe 350,000. It's really hard to really know what is your audience because obviously there is an overlap between all the platforms. But I will say like maybe 500,000 people follow me regularly, follow my content. So yeah, that's the scale.
Right now. And in terms of French speaking, that puts you right up at the top of.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I started a long time ago, so I'm part of the old dinosaurs. So I guess we are all a bit big now.
Yes. Yeah. And so you have pursued. So let's talk about like the way of the intelligent rebel and this book. Well, first of all, it came out in French a number of years ago. Yes. This is the new English version.
Yes.
It was just released. It's one of the top selling entrepreneurship books in French. Now you're starting to build an English audience. Could you tell, what does that mean, the way of the intelligent rebel?
So The cat is really angry, but I gave him a lot of food, so I don't understand. So yeah, the way of the intelligent rebel. So the book in French has a totally different title, but it was written for what I call an intelligent rebel. So what is an intelligent rebel? It is someone who can have all the external signs of success. Like he can have a good job, a good car, a good family, a great spouse, a good diploma. Everything can look great from the outside. But there is one problem, is that this person feels like a little voice inside him or her saying, hey, are you sure that's how you're going to be the best version of yourself? How you're going to realize yourself? How you're going to blossom? Is it like get the biggest diploma you can have and work 40 hours, 9 to 5, and maybe when all your best years will be behind you, you will start to really enjoy life? Is it the best way to live life, really? So he has like a little voice inside him that tell him or her, maybe there is another way. Maybe there is another way. And so the intelligent rebel can feel a little bit frustrated in the workplace system or the education system. And basically the way for the intelligent rebel to blossom, to become the best version of himself or herself is through creation. It can be the creation of, his adventure, like doing a world tour for 1 year, for example. It can be artistic creation, like writing a book, writing a theater piece, or it can be business creation. And in any case, it's creating his own path in life, his own adventure. And I wrote this book because I dropped school at 18 to start my own company. I don't even have the basic diploma in France, And I felt so much like a misfit, in the education system. And for a while, I felt really bad about it. I thought I was the problem. And one of the messages I share in this book is like, if you're an intelligent rebel, well, guess what? The education system is not made for people like you. So it's completely normal to feel like a misfit. And it can be a strength if you realize it and you know how to play your cards right. So I try in this book to really give the intelligent rebels all the right cards and to show them the right strategies to play them, so they can have a life they are happy with. Because when you look at the genesis of the creation of the education system in the Western world, in the US, in the UK, in Canada, in most of the Western countries, it was more or less the same. It was created at the end of the 19th century. And the goal was to have people who were productive in the society at the time, which was an industrial society. So the governments, they wanted like good factory workers, good employees, good soldiers, people who were educated enough to be productive in an industrial society, but they didn't want rebels. They didn't want people who were thinking outside of the box. They didn't want people who didn't respect and follow authority, right? And when you look at the history back then, you can also understand why, because in a lot of Western countries, people who were thinking outside of the box, who didn't respect authority, they were like starting revolutions. They could really disturb the system. So the whole education system was built with this philosophy. And of course, it evolved quite a lot since then, but the core principles are still the same. And you can see a lot of parallels between how a school is organized and a factory is organized. Like, every hour there is a bell ringing. In a lot of countries, you still have students who have to wear uniforms, like in the UK. Or for other countries, it was the case until very recently, etc., etc. So the first step is to realize, okay, this system was made for some kind of people, but not for everyone. And if I feel bad in this system, and the same can be said of the workplace, by the way, it's okay. That's the first realization. It's okay. It was not meant for me. So what can I do to be happy? How can I succeed outside the system? So that's what the way of the intelligent rebel is all about.
So you have, when I introduced you, I said there are very few people that are as aligned with their approach to business as you are with mine. At least that's what I think. And I want to get into that because I know that you were initially inspired, or an early inspiration for you might be a better way to put it. An early inspiration for you was the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim
Absolutely.
Ferriss.
Yes.
And so that came out, I think, probably around 2007 or 2008,
Yes.
right around there. And you read that book, and we've talked about it. And I read the book, and there was one thing that you took away from that book that, let me ask this: what was a couple of the biggest takeaways?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, because we talked about it before. Because actually, a lot of people miss this point when they read this book, but it's one of the most important ones. Too many people focus on the title, actually, while actually Tim Ferriss explained in the book, it's a marketing title and it doesn't speak really about working only 4 hours a week. But anyway, one of the key points of the book, one of the key takeaway is most people, when they want to be more productive, well, they learn like productivity strategy, methods, they learn how to delegate, how to automate, how to eliminate. Well, it's good, but when all is said and done, what happens if you gain, let's say, 2 hours per week and you don't know what are you going to do during these 2 hours? Well, most of the time, you will be in front of your computer when this free time happens. And if you don't know how to use it, what are you going to do? You will try to find something on your computer to fill these 2 hours, which is basically you will try to find some work to do, even if it's not really mandatory, even if it's not efficient, even if you shouldn't do it, but maybe someone else in your team. So it's very counterintuitive, but the key to become more productive is to find something outside of work that fill the void. There is like this passage called "Fill the Void" in the 4-Hour Workweek. Fill the void, and I'm paraphrasing it by saying you should find something that makes you impatient to close your computer outside of work. And when you find this, everything else is easier. Because first, you will have a real motivation to be more productive and more efficient and work less in your business. But also, you will have something to fill the void. So you will not spend your free time like just to watch videos of cats, I mean, it's great to watch videos of cats from time to time, but you don't want to do this for all your free time. So for me, what I found that is really filling the void is to travel. I travel like more or less, I have been traveling like six months a year for like 10 years, a little bit less in 2020, obviously. But that's really what I found that is filling the void. Because when I like travel to a new place, I want to do 1 billion things besides working. I want to explore the place. I want to meet the people. I want to taste the food. I want to do the activities, So it makes me super, super impatient to close my computer. And so I'm super like motivated to be clear about my priorities, to not like wander around the internet, to delegate efficiently, etc., etc. So that's the biggest takeaway I took.
Yeah, no, that was great. And I think so many people miss that in the book.
They do.
It's just, they focus on more the little tactics. There's all kinds of little tactics in the book, but the big takeaways, I mean, that was a huge one. And so I've been watching you run your business, grow your business for 11 years now. And within this mastermind that we're in, there's lots of people that have been in for that long or nearly that long. And everyone has a different approach to business. But the approach to business that I've seen you take, well, first of all, that you're obsessed with the Pareto principle,
yes.
the 80-20 principle. You're absolutely obsessed with that, which I think it's fantastic. It's a great thing to be obsessed with. And yes. The question I always ask myself is, to what end? And I don't know if you use those exact words, but I see you consistently looking at all the different ideas that are coming in from all over, especially within our mastermind, and saying, well, that sounds really great, but is that going to deliver to me what I want in my life? And can you talk a little bit about that, about how, because to me, that's like when I think of the intelligent rebel, you didn't just rebel against sort of like the system and the education system, but you have rebelled against the typical growth at all cost that many entrepreneurs get caught up in.
So it's very interesting because I start the book with 3 principles, because, there is this quote from Erickson, who says there are basically a billion different methods, but only a very few principles. And when you know the principles, you can choose your method effectively. But if you try to choose your method without understanding the principles, well, it's going to be hard. So the 3 principles are to be a good skeptic, because a lot of people are skeptic, like they hear about like a method that seems too good to be true, and they're like, oh, come on. If it will be so easy, everyone will know it. Or if it will be so efficient, everyone will know it. It must be a scam. So that's what most people do for everything. But I propose another way, which is to be a good skeptic, which is to still have the skepticisms, because I think it's actually healthy to be skeptic, but to use these skepticisms as a motivation to do an experiment in your life to see if it's going to work for you or not. So that's the first principle. Try to use this skepticism to say, okay, it sounds too good to be true. Is it true? There is only one way to know. I need to test it to see if it's going to work for me or not. And obviously, you cannot test everything. So the second principle is to understand that there are very efficient methods in every field, and to try to look for them. And I talk in my book about the product launch formula, because your method is a great example of this. It's basically the most powerful method to sell online. And most people, when they hear about the results that your method can get, they are like, come on, if it will be so easy, people will know it. And what I say in my book is like, hey, actually people know it, but only the people who tried it. If you don't try, how can you know? So if you combine these, and then you combine the Pareto principle, which is to focus on the 20% that brings 80% of the results. And when you combine the 3, that's how you are a rebel the smart way. You are a good skeptic. You try to find good methods, more efficient method that was what most people use in every field that is of interest for you. You try them with a good skepticisms like mindset. And then you use a Pareto principle to take the most out of it without burning yourself into the method, because you can also be a perfectionist in even good methods, And you said it's a great Pareto principle is a great thing to be obsessed about. So when you combine the 3 principles, you actually have a methodology to choose like the things you will be obsessed about without being too obsessed about it. The Pareto principle is actually a way to have a balance in that. And that you're going to be obsessed with methods that are great, that are by themselves, they are more efficient than the others. So it's great to be obsessed by this, like you said. And so that's how, you combine everything to be a good skeptic. And as you said, I like to ask people, okay, but is it really necessary to do this? Because I see a lot of people, they don't ask these questions enough, and they go too much down the rabbit hole of wanting to master every little detail about a particular method. And sometimes it's great for in some situations, like if you want to be an Olympic champion, you want to do that, because what interests you is the 2 millimeters of difference between you and your competitor. But most of us, we have to realize, we are not competing at this level. We're not competing at this level at all. And there is a law of diminishing return. When you obsess about every little details, instead of trying to find another method that is efficient in something that is important for you, and try to master the 20-80 out of it, because let's say, for example, you have a great business and you already have a lot of free time. Well, maybe you want to learn a method to have a great couple because it's also important in your life. And instead of being going the other 80%, 20% of your business with 80% of your time, you will use your free time to become a better spouse, to have a better family, a better relationship. And it's gonna make a better human being out of yourself, and you'll be way more happy, and maybe also you will be more productive and focus in your business because you will have a happy personal life, etc., etc. So just to give one example, I saw recently, I didn't intervene in the group actually, but in the mastermind group, we have a group on WhatsApp, a Signal actually, and people were talking a lot about hacks to get points out of American Express. And some people are like expert about this, they know exactly the right card for what purpose. And I was like, that's exactly the kind of things where I will say, guys, is it really useful for you to know all of this? I just have one American Express card and I pull all my expenses on it, and that's it. You don't need to know anything else. What is the point of, okay, if you know this hack, you're going to have a few, dozens of thousands points per year, but it's what? It's 2 free flights per year. Are you really, is it going to make a big difference in your life? All this time you put just to know this? No, sorry. It would be more interesting for you to use this free time to learn something useful in another field, So yeah. That's my philosophy.
It's funny because I was thinking the same thing when I saw that discussion happen. It's great if that's your hobby, and some people they're passionate about like that, the points and all that. But it's like if you took 100 hours you spent on maximizing your points and you put it into like anything else.
Exactly. And I mean, the crazy thing is like this group is full of super successful entrepreneurs. If they put the same amount of time to create a new product, they will make way more money, right? So, and I mean, I get it. Like for some people, like you said, it's a hobby. It's a way to, actually fill the void maybe outside of work. But I think they could find something more fulfilling and interesting for them than this.
Agree. So can you talk about simplicity? Because my observation is you've, in all these years, surrounded by all these amazing people in this mastermind who have built increasingly complex businesses, you've kept your business very, very simple and very, very profitable. And it's allowed you to do amazing things in your life because of that.
True. So I organize my business around one principle, I mean, a few principles, but one principle that is really important is what I call the asynchronous business. So not synchronous, because until now, I mean, to do any project, you had to be synchronous. What is synchronous? I mean, you had to communicate in real time with humans, right? To do anything. But today, with today's technology, it's not mandatory anymore. And so I built my whole business, and I didn't really conceptualize it like this at the start. I just did it because I wanted to have more freedom in my life, more free time. I wanted to have a lifestyle business. But we actively discourage in my business real-time conversations. It doesn't mean it's forbidden. It means it's discouraged. So what it means is like we try to not do any meeting, and I hate meetings personally, so I really try to not have any. We don't do phone calls. Nobody in my team has my phone number except my right arm, Elizabeth, but she never calls me anyway. And we use a software called Asana. I think that's how you pronounce it in English, right? Asana, and emails a little bit. And just this has a lot of benefits. It can seem crazy for a lot of people, but first, you don't have any interruptions in my business, not only for me, but also for my team. And we know that interruptions are the biggest killer of productivity and well-being in the workplace. Because when you are focusing on a task and you are interrupted by a phone call, an email, when you have like a signal on your computer or someone just walking in your office and talking to you, well, you need to get out of the task in your mind to do the thing you were interrupted for, and then you need to go back in the task. And just these, like there are scientific studies about this, you need like 64 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, just to get back in the task. So it's very, very fast. It doesn't seem a lot, but if you have 10 messages in 1 hour, you already lose 10 minutes just to focus back on your task. And I'm not even talking about the time you're putting in the thing you were interrupted for, And also, it's a great killer of well-being because, I mean, do you like to be interrupted when you focus on something? No. So it eliminates, not completely, but a lot, interruptions, which is great. And also, it means there is no office hour in our business. I don't care if someone wakes up at 5 a.m. or at 12, it doesn't matter. I just want the things to be done in time, and people can organize themselves when they want. That's also one of the tradition that is inherited from the factory, like this idea that everyone has to show up at the same time, like in school, But sorry, not everyone has the same rhythm. It's completely stupid, actually, when you think about it. I mean, it made sense before, but nowadays it doesn't make sense anymore. And it also means, and for me, it's very important, that it doesn't matter where people are in the world because there is no office hours. So my team, I have 25 people in my team right now, and they are all over the world. My wife, Elizabeth, she lives in London. I have people in France, obviously, in Morocco, in Benin, which is a French-speaking African country. I have someone in Tokyo. I have someone in Quebec. I have someone in Laos right now because he's a digital nomad and he's traveling. And my whole business is about to give more freedom to people. And I didn't want that my team didn't have freedom. So see, just this simple principle gives a lot of benefits. And also it simplifies a lot of the management and the organization in my company. I remember a few years ago, you finish one of our mastermind meeting with a great question. It was about the team. I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically almost everyone was complaining, about, the team is very hard, blah, blah, blah. And I said, guys, I feel I'm in a different world because I don't have any problem with my team at all. I'm very happy about my team, and I never do meetings. So, and I remember quite a few people were shocked when I told them that my VA, for example, I do a meeting with him maybe once every 2 years, like a phone call, because I don't need to. Obviously, it's not a perfect model. It's not for everyone. For example, it's not for people who need the automatic socialization that the company will bring, right? It's for people who have friends outside of work, who don't mind about not exchanging jokes around the coffee machine, etc., etc. But it's also great because it attracts like autonomous people who like freedom, who will be so happy that you provide this freedom that they will stick with you, maybe not for life, but for a long time. I have a very, very low turnover in my team because people just love the work conditions I give them. So just one example of a simple principle that brings a lot of benefits. And if you stick to it, it's bringing awesome things in your life.
So you have, the book, how long was it out in French before the English version?
How long what?
When did you first publish the French edition?
So it was in 2016, actually.
So it's been 5 years. And
5 years.
One of the best-selling books for an online or for French entrepreneurs.
It sold more than 100,000 copies now. So
yeah.
And in my industry, it's like, I don't know, maybe 20 times or 10 times bigger than the biggest, so it's crazy.
Wow. And why now go to English? Talk about a little bit about that.
Well, in the mastermind, in your mastermind, there is Reed, who is a CEO of Hay House, and we talked about my book. I asked him like a few advices about how to promote it, So he knew about the book from the very beginning. And at some point he said, hey, let's publish it in English. It's a great success in French, I mean, you have to realize, it's not only in France, right? It's the French-speaking countries, but if you take all the Western French-speaking countries, it's maybe 70 million people, So you compare to the 300 million people in the US, you see it's maybe California and Texas together. So 100,000 copies, it's huge in my country, like would say Erica, right? So we said, hey, let's publish it in English. And I immediately said yes, because, I'm a nomad person. I told you I've been traveling the world for 6 months a year, and I have a lot of friends who don't speak French. And it's very frustrating for me because they don't know really what I'm doing. So just for this one reason, or already like that, I could finally give them these in their hands, and I could tell them, okay, you will know maybe not all of what I do, but a lot about what I do by reading this. It's great. It's awesome. I love it. And of course, also, English is the lingua franca today. Most people speak English than any other language. As a second language, maybe Chinese is better for first language, but whatever. People speak English all around the world, and you know it because you have a very international business. And it's a way for me to reach a new audience and to help more intelligent travelers wherever they are. And also, it was my vision that maybe the English book could be a bridge to other languages too. And since it was published, I got an offer from a Portuguese publisher, actually, who read the English book and not the French one. So it's a way for me to, help more people, have more impact, and maybe we'll see. Maybe I could use it to start a business in English.
Very cool. So you can get the book at Amazon, wherever books are sold, but definitely at Amazon. Go check it out. Olivier is one of the most original. I've been fortunate to meet a lot of really cool people, a lot of amazing people through my business. He is one of the most original, iconoclastic thinkers that I know.
Wow, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, completely in alignment with my philosophy of, we're not, entrepreneurs are not just about, I think entrepreneurs are the future of the world. We're changing the world. We're improving the world, but so often entrepreneurs are doing it at the cost of their lives, at the cost of their psychic, social, emotional, physical, spiritual lives. And that's sort of the drum I've been beating for a number of years now, that it's not just about the size of your business, but it's about the quality of your life. And Olivier, I've known him for over 11 years now, and he has been living those same ideals, not because he learned them from me. He came to them, similar conclusions on his own, but we're very much in alignment. He's one of the, like I said, the most original iconoclastic thinkers. And I highly recommend you head over to Amazon and get this book. So,
by the way, there is a book blurb from you on the reverse cover, which is
I forgot about that. I totally forgot. You're sending, I wrote this blurb a long time ago. Yes, I said some people seem to fit naturally into the get a degree and get a 9-to-5 job world. This book is for the rest of us. So, Olivier, thank you so much. Always good to talk to you. Bye-bye, everyone.